here with us now, we have Wrap. Tom Smith, the president and CEO of Wrap. Tom, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Wonderfully. It's very good to have you here. For the uninitiated, would you mind giving us a brief overview to what you guys are doing?
We are helping change policing by providing tools that are going to reduce the use of force to take a suspect into custody. The only tool out there right now that doesn't use pain compliance. And obviously, this is a hot topic in the world right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm very excited to hear your approach. First, I would like to ask, where in the world are you? You have the best view I've ever seen in my life. And the sky is a beautiful saffron.
I am in Phoenix, Arizona, and that's looking at downtown Phoenix with Camelback Mountain in the background. And it is a beautiful time of year to be in the valley.
That is gorgeous, guys. Keep that in mind. Let's plan a Benzinga trip down to Phoenix. It is beautiful down there. All right, Tom, I would love it if you could show us what you're doing over at Wrap now with a little presentation.
I will do that. And I appreciate everybody tuning in this morning. And obviously the wonderful safe harbor statement is we're going to talk about future things. And my background, as introduced, my name's Tom Smith. My brother and I started Taser back in 1993, now Axon. So my career has been spent in law enforcement, doing this all over the world. I was always doing the outside stuff. And I joined this company 2 years ago because this is what I think policing is going to go to. They were always asking, is there a way to stop somebody and take them into custody without hurting them? And our product is the BolaWrap, which you see here on the screen. And it is a handheld device about the size of your cell phone. You operate it like a remote control. And then it has a cartridge that you see on the right there that snaps into the front of it. And when you deploy this on a person, it sends out an 8-foot Kevlar tether that wraps around them. And then it doesn't put anything into the body, and it gives the police that window of opportunity to take them into custody. We also have a lot of intellectual property around this. The company was very active on that from the get-go. So you can see that we have 12 issued US patents and have filed all over the world. And so while I've given you the description of how this works, I'm going to show you a quick 30-second video so you visually get to see how this works. And now we've slowed this down so that it's filmed at 20,000 frames per second, so you can really see what's going on, because in real time it happens in the blink of an eye. So let's take a quick look at this video. So very exciting times for us right now. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the world, and to be able to give police something that doesn't hurt people, to allow them to end these confrontations early before they escalate to those higher levels of force, that's really what we're focused on. And we get asked a lot of times, what really is this market? So there's about just under 1 million officers in the US and 18,000 agencies, but internationally that number is 12 times the size of the US market. And we have a big international footprint already. Then when you start to look at military, private security, ultimately the consumers, this is a $6 billion market that's growing to almost $12 billion in the next few years. So there's a huge opportunity for us going forward to expand our technology into these other realms. And currently in the United States, we already have 475 agencies using this technology. So it's not just concept. This is something that's actually out there on the streets. And again, we're just the tip of the iceberg, because that's only 475 agencies out of 18,000 in the United States. And it's not just concept, it's being used. So what I want to also share with you is about a 90-second video of a chief that's talking about how he used it in Fruitland, Maryland. And while he's talking, you'll see in the background actually body cam footage of how they were able to use this against a suspect that was in a crisis that they needed to get help, and they didn't have to hurt him. So I'm going to let you watch this 90-second video. Oops, if I can get this to play for you.
You know, sometimes people need to be taken into custody that don't need to be injured. We get a call to assist EMS. The young man has really intense seizures. When he comes out of his seizures, he's in a confused state. He's not coherent. He's a big, strong guy, and he comes out swinging. They knew that they weren't being threatened by him, and they didn't want to hurt him. His condition is as bad as it needs to be already. We don't need to make it worse. Corporal Mills was able to explain to the family what the device was going to do. So when the noise came, they weren't thinking that it was a gunshot or a taser or anything like that. He deployed the device. It was a perfect deployment. In this particular case, he had somebody who dropped their arms to their side. So he took the shot and it worked perfectly. As soon as the BolaWrap was deployed, they come running in with the stretcher, and they get him the help he needs right away. This is the first thing that we've ever been able to add to our arsenal, other than verbal commands, that isn't supposed to hurt anybody. The way we look at it, this isn't a use of force. This is an apprehension tool. I don't see how anybody could say that having a device like this isn't worthwhile, that it isn't worth the money. It's, how many times does something like that have to be effective or pay for itself? Not very many. Maybe one. If, in this particular case, they had to go to, if he continued to be violent and they had to go to some other type of device, the outcome may have been different.
So you can hear a lot of great points. And the best thing we have now is that it's being used in the field, and we have our customers talking about it. You can see here a snippet of body cams that we've received from all over the country. And if you go to our YouTube channel, you can obviously see these for yourselves, that it's not just in demonstration and practice, it's actually working in the field. And the best cases is the chiefs and these departments talking about it. We have over 50 documented uses already. And that's just a fraction of what we believe is actually happening out there, because a lot of times this isn't even categorized as a use of force. So think Batman and Spider-Man for those movie people out there, that it just throws a rope around someone from a distance and allows them to be stopped without hurting them. And that's what's really exciting about this technology, because it's making a difference. So no other tool has been introduced since Taser came out 20 years ago. This is the first tool to do that, and it's being adopted at a much quicker rate than we even saw back then, because it's something that's really having an impact in policing today. A lot of people ask about our distribution network. We have 14 distributors in the United States that cover all of the states. I've worked with these guys before, and they work with all those local and small agencies, because over 80% of those 18,000 agencies are less than 100 men in the US. So it makes a lot of sense for us to use a distribution channel that puts almost 100 other people out there on the ground, boots on the ground, helping to sell this, helping to do those demonstrations. Then internationally, we've already shipped to over 40 countries. My second day here, I went overseas because I knew the international market was going to be an enormous opportunity for us. It is the majority of our business already, and we believe that's going to be the case for the next several years, because it is 12 times the size of the US market. So international is something that's really important to us. And here's a quick snippet of all of those different places that we've shipped. Obviously, we've seen some headwinds with COVID and not being able to travel internationally, but by having those distributors on the ground, they're able to continue to do demonstrations, training, sales, and we continue to grow and really have it impact our business and continue for the foreseeable future to be the majority of our business. Because internationally too, they're not as, they don't use as force much as they do here in the US. And when I was traveling all over for Taser those 20 years, they were always asking for something like this. And that's why I knew international was going to be a key part of our business. We also have a lot of people that try to understand how the sales process works, because we are selling to government agencies. So it is a fairly lengthy process. The bigger the agency, the longer that process can take. So for example, an LAPD, a Houston, or an NYPD, we measure those in terms of months and years and the process that goes through there. So as a comparison with Taser, they tested for 4 years, and then it was they bought 750 a year for multiple years before they rolled it out to everybody. So in our case, they're in a test. They've done a first year of the trial. They're going to continue a second year starting this summer, and it's going to be a very lengthy process. It's those small agencies that they're under 100 men that move quickly, and we're seeing a lot of agencies show up now at our demonstrations with a purchase order in hand, and that's really going to be our bread and butter. That's those agencies. They can move quickly. You saw Fruitland, Maryland there. They were able to get the body cam uses to us to be able to share. So they're really a key aspect for us, because then they have to go through training. Then they have to come up with a policy. How do they want this used? And each agency can have their own policy. So that's a key aspect to this. So we can provide sample policies from other agencies to be able to use, so they don't have to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes they'll do field testing like LAPD is. A lot of the smaller agencies will skip that step and just go right to purchase. And ultimately, our goal is full deployment. We want this on every frontline officer so that it's available for them to be used. So that's what we're really going to drive to, is to get this out there and have this used with all of those frontline officers. We also invested early in manufacturing. One of the benefits of being a public company, although it's early for us to be public, is that we do have an incredibly strong balance sheet with over $37 million as of the end of the first quarter, but it allows us to invest in getting our manufacturing set up. So right now we're running a single shift 4 days a week, and we don't require a lot of capital investment to be able to expand our manufacturing very quickly. You see 3 examples of it here. So we are really well prepared and set up for the growth that we're anticipating to come, especially with those international markets. And now with the pressure law enforcement's under domestically, we expect that to change. And we are ready for that growth because we were able to do that up front. One of the other things that we did is we obviously work, and I mentioned earlier, training is a key aspect to this. So in December of last year, we bought a company in the virtual reality training space that we are going to have a platform that's going to address training. So while we have our BolaWrap family of products, we also have a virtual reality called Wrap Reality family that's creating a platform for us to address the training within law enforcement and to give them tools to end these confrontations early before they escalate. So through our Wrap Reality platform, we're not only going to train on BolaWrap, we're going to train on all the other use of force tools that they have, firearms, baton, tasers, even verbal skills, intervention skills, diversity training. And we're really looking at helping to reform police training, that from cadet through retirement, they can incorporate the virtual reality. So instead of just showing up once a year at an academy, this is something that they use constantly now, where they can get continual upgrades. We're really excited about this platform. It's brand new to us. And we're also going to incorporate it into a subscription model where it's a per officer per seat, so that we can track all of their training data and they can pay for it over time. And then they can either incorporate the BolaWrap into that training or that subscription as well, or they can buy it as a standalone. But really excited about that platform because we're already dealing with those trainers in the sales process and teaching them how to use the BolaWrap. So now we can also provide a tool that's going to create a platform for them to solve the problems with the device, as well as to solve the training issues and get people better trained, and offer a different platform to get it more immersive. So something that might have taken 2 hours, we can now do in 30 minutes. So there's going to be a cost savings for them to do that as well. Recently, the company just completed going through our ISO 9001 2015 certification. And another initiative that we just started that's obviously important to our investors and to our company is our ESG, or environmental, social, and governance initiatives. We've already taken our first steps internally to go through this program as a follow-on to our ISO certification. We're going to be continuing to drive towards this process of incorporating ESG and have a lot more to report on it and get our first report out by the third quarter of this year. So another really exciting initiative that we're doing internally, being aware of our impact in society, not only with our product, but being good corporate citizens as well. And again, I mentioned earlier some of those corporate milestones that we have out there. Is over 37 million on the balance sheet as cash, virtually no debt. We've got about 37 or 39 million shares out there today, and we've got over 25,000 different shareholders. And a lot of those shareholders all are law enforcement officers that are using our products. So we've seen that as well, where they don't only use it in the field, but they've also invested in the company. So it's a really exciting time for Wrap. Where we're at today, we're obviously looking forward to the future and what the opportunities are going to bring, because it's really easy for people to point out problems. We're working on solving those problems through technology like the BolaWrap and through our Wrap Reality. So that's something that not a lot of companies get to say they do, is that they've changed the world. And it is something that we focus on here at Wrap, and that we're going to continue to do with our BolaWrap products, in addition to our training platform. And we're a very exciting future. It's a very young company, and we're early stage days again with the penetration that we're at. And having done this before and spent my entire career in this space, I'm very, very excited about where we're going to be going as a company. So I appreciate all of your time right now. I think we're going to go ahead and get back to doing some Q&A at this point.
Yeah, and we've got quite a few questions, and guys and gals. If you guys haven't gotten your question in, go ahead and drop it now in chat. We have time to get some of these answered. One question here is around legislation. Could you walk us through it? I'm assuming this is, for the sake of time, let's just talk about the United States. Is this considered a weapon? Does it take a license, or how does that work?
Great question. So the device currently does use a half-charge 380, if you're familiar with firearms. So it's like a starter pistol they use in a sporting event. So we use gunpowder to get the speeds that we need. So the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearm, also known as ATF, does classify us as a firearm. And because we don't fit a normal category, we're in what they call any other weapon. So right now our sales are primarily focused on law enforcement, which we have a process in place. It's very easy to do that. The consumer and private security markets will be a little bit more challenging, but we've got our hands full today with law enforcement sales. So we are going to be focused on that for the near term. And then internationally, we're covered under commerce for export. And so the advantage, I've been doing this my entire career, so we do understand how to sell and how to work in this with these regulations, both domestically and internationally.
That's fantastic. And then how does the one operationally for the operator, how does the cartridge system work for reloading? And then how do you do that from a pricing and packaging perspective?
Great question. So the cartridge snaps into the front. So it's a razor blade business. After you've used that cartridge, you throw it away. So there's a quick cartridge release lever on the BolaWrap itself. You drop that cartridge out and you snap another one in. So in rough numbers, back of the envelope, an officer's between $1,000 and $1,200 to give them everything they need through the BolaWrap, the cartridges, the training, the holsters. So kind of a soup to nuts number to get them out there. So if you're a 10-man agency, it's roughly $10,000 to $12,000 to equip all of your officers with this equipment and get them trained and put them out there in the field. And the cartridges are roughly $30 a piece. So it's not something like a regular firearm where you're going to go fire hundreds of rounds. They only need 2 rounds, 2 cartridges for an annual certification, and then they would just have the others available for field use.
I see. Okay. And then, so on that topic, I guess, you're selling these cartridges, and again, I just want to get it back because you went kind of fast, so I want to go back. This is a razor and cartridge model, which is fantastic. So you're getting the core unit into the hands of law enforcement, and then you're selling the cartridges just like you would buy a razor. For those of us that shave.
Correct.
So what about profitability? Do you have like a quarter or a year that you might achieve that?
Yeah, we're working right now on our margins. Obviously, we've been investing heavily in the company, so we don't foresee that happening until probably sometime in 22. We're obviously striving to do that sooner, but probably late 22, we'll start to see that flip. And then obviously, if we get some of the momentum to convert into the sales, that'll happen sooner. And then we're obviously focused on our margins to improve those. The device right now in its current form has a lot of opportunity for margin improvement because that'll also be a quick impact to getting us to flip over and stop burning the cash and get us to profitable. And it's certainly something we're focused on as an organization. And even in the first quarter this year, we had 5 points improvement on the margin. So we are focused on trying to get there as quick as we can.
Wonderful. And can you give us a peek into your product roadmap and how that might be evolving in either domestic or abroad markets?
We're investing heavily in our research and development. And one of our unique challenges, for example, in the iPhone industry, everybody knows every September there's going to be a new product announcement. So with law enforcement, we're not as regular. And the reason is because a lot of times they don't move as quickly. So if they know something's coming, they'll just wait because they're a government agency. So there's no urgency for them. So we don't really pre-announce anything. But obviously, if you look at our expenditures, we're investing heavily in that area. And if you look at the rest of the industry, there's always advancements in technology, and we're doing the same thing. We're taking a lot of input from our users. We work very closely to make sure we incorporate voice of the customer in what they want to see improve for the product to make it more usable for them. Because at the end of the day, we got to make it super simple to use in the field and very easy for them to carry and deploy, and make sure that those frontline officers are carrying it so that they have it when they need it.
Yeah, and you've clearly with your pedigree have a firm foot in the door in this space. Now, could you speak a little bit to the competitive landscape and how you differentiate yourself?
Yeah, so it's a lot like carpentry, right? You don't build a house with just a hammer. There's multiple tools in the toolbox, whether it's a hammer, screwdriver, wrench. So we're the same thing here. Ultimately, the officers are going to have a firearm. They're going to have other tools like the taser, the baton, the pepper spray. This device fits between that officer presence and conversation and those higher levels of force, those intermediate levels of force. And that's the niche when you look at the body cams that we fill that. And a lot of agencies, you heard the chief mention, they don't even consider it a use of force because it's used so early and it's not designed, and it's the only tool that doesn't rely on pain compliance. So there's no magic bullet. I wish that existed. It just doesn't. So you need multiple tools for these situations, and we fill that niche. Early use, don't hurt the person, get them into custody quickly, and get them that help that they need.
Wonderful. And we are at time. So final remarks for our investor and retail trader audience.
Yeah, so Wrap is an exciting company. I've been there before. I know the playbook, and this has never been more pressure on law enforcement than there is today to change the way they're doing business. And this is the only tool out there that doesn't hurt them. And we have a very, very exciting opportunity for investors ahead because we're very early in the game in terms of adoption and have a huge market that we're going to address and solve real world problems with technology.
Fantastic. Tom Smith, Wrap, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me on.